So if you've made it this far, you're looking at what exactly is an organization success system and what is arena success and how do they do it. So I'm going to give you the tour here. Now it's an overview, but that doesn't mean it's going to be done in 4 minutes. It's going to take a little bit longer than that, but it'll be worth your time. So the first thing that we've learned so far is that a good organization success system, it needs three things. It has to be able to execute. It has to have clarity about what it's executing, and it has to create the time for leaders to think, plan, and lead so they know what clearly needs to be done and what needs and how they're going to execute it. Okay? So it's a bit of a circle, but the first thing is execution in the system, and you want accountability, execution to be obvious and highly accountable and systematic. So it doesn't depend on someone being good at holding other people accountable. Let the system do it. I'm not saying that people shouldn't hold each other accountable. So when you first log in, you're going to be brought to this page. Now, if you saw any of the other videos, you'll know that the first tab up here, this page that you're looking at, is all about you. The next one where it says Active Arena, now that one is all about the company or the organization. So right now we're looking at your day master. So all these things are about you. This is a list of your tasks that the green are finished, the yellow are things you're committed to doing in the next week. And yes, that's a bunch of them. This is mine you happen to be looking at, and it's a little old. Okay, so the things are kind of in the past. But then, there are milestones on here. There are things that are on the list, but they don't have dates, so they don't need to be done. And you might notice there's one with a red date over here. Well, that's because it's late. Okay, when something becomes late, it shows up here. But I can go here, and I can go here on my cell phone too, and know what my tasks are for this week. I can also know what my meetings are for this week. And there is a weekly planner. If you just follow the steps and do what it says, your weeks will be better planned than they've probably ever been before. There's daily check-ins, recognitions, and suggestions, which I consider vitally important. You need to recognize people, your coworkers who do something worthwhile, and you need to make suggestions for improvements. What I call one small thing, and suggestions are vital to the constant improvement of an organization. But this is where the execution takes place. These are my tasks, and it doesn't matter where they came from. All my tasks that are even close to due show up in this one place. So now you may say, okay, well, that's fine, but where's the systematic accountability? Well, sometime during the day, most people are going to attend what we call a day master meeting. Now you'll notice now we're looking at the organization, and the tab is day master. So in this day master meeting, it's a group of people that get together, and they ask questions, and one of the questions they ask is about late task. And if this organization had anybody with a late task, it would show up here with bright red letter, and the date would be in bright red. Now an ETBR means that this particular task, the date's been reset 3 times. That's red. That's not good either. All right. It's not the end of the world. We just need to keep track of it. Well, nobody likes to have their tardiness thrown up there on the board for everyone to see day after day after day. So this is systematic accountability because it's built in and it works. And every meeting has a list of tasks from that particular meeting. You'll see it later. So there are other forms of accountability, but that's the strongest one right there. Just put it in front of the whole world. Hey, this person's late, and you'll have far less things become late. Okay, so that's how we're getting things done. But now you're going to ask, I'm sure, where do all these tasks come from? Well, this is part of the clarity thing. We have created, for clarity's sake, we have key performance indicators and projects, and they're all shown together on this page. And you can nest them. In other words, there can be, and there probably are under some of these, you'll have a KPI, and then under it will be the projects that are trying to make that KPI improve. That's a very, very common thing. And I won't go into all the details about what all these columns mean at all. This isn't the place for that. But notice that we have things we're measuring and we have things we're trying to get done. So how do these produce tasks? Well, if I click on one of them, and I'm going to click on one, and it will show up like this. Now, this is a project designed to improve a KPI, and all of these tasks down here, the green ones are the ones that have been done on this project. The yellow ones are the ones that are getting done this week. The brown ones are milestones. It's a simplified project management system that the rest of the world can use. You don't have to be a project manager to use it. And all these tasks, regardless, they can be assigned to a dozen different people here. They'll end up on there, like this task right here is on my, no, not that one, that's not mine. This one is on my list of things to do this week that I showed you previously. Back here, it's on there. All right. So now on this page is everything you need to know about this KPI or project. Again, I won't go into all the details, but over here on the right is where we set up, and because how you set up a project largely determines how successful it is. Why is it important? What does success look like? And what are the consequences for meeting goals or not meeting them? People and expectations. This is where you create a team. You can create a team just for this project, and they're the only ones who will be able to see it, or you can set it so everyone can see it, and that's usually pretty useful. But this, if they're in this list of people that is directly part of the team working on that project, well then, believe it or not, back here on the individual's page, home page, or adventure page, if I click on, there's a tab for my initiatives, because these are called initiatives. KPIs and projects are called initiatives. So under the My Initiative tab, they will have, this initiative will show up. Now, mine particular one, I'm involved with a lot of initiatives, so it shows a lot of things over there. And please realize that when you're videoing something, it renders on the screen much, much slower. So this operates much faster in real time. But anyways, these are my KPIs and projects that I'm involved in. So I can look at them on my tab. I can see what I have to worry about. So that is where these tasks come from. Some of them. Now, some tasks can come from a meeting and not be tied to a particular KPI or project at all, but they could be. Every KPI or project, I strongly recommend have a meeting, and that's in there. You can find out all kinds of things and get a project very well set up by making sure these things over here on the right are done. All right, so that's great. Now you're wondering, perhaps, where do these KPIs and projects come from? Well, this goes back to the clarity piece. We call it the focus plan. It's part of Focus Master, all right? And this is the page. I just switched to the arena page or the organization page on the Focus Plan tab. All these are focal points. You answer these questions and you answer them clearly and shortly, and be to the point, and you will have yourself defined. So then you'll know what actually has to be done, and you'll keep yourself from doing things that don't need to be done. The first one is your purpose. And yes, a purpose statement should be meaningful, and it's a little different than a mission statement, but it's why you exist. Core values. Now, if you'll notice, I have core values down here for this company and permission to play values. You only get 3 core values. More than that, they're not really core values. You're just listing things off. All right. There are certain other values that are important, but they're common to a whole lot of organizations. They're just the permission to get on the board type of things. All right. So you define your purpose, your core values, your inspirational vision. This is what you're trying to accomplish in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, but it should be inspirational. What exactly do you do? And I'm having more and more companies create, what exactly don't we do? Because a list, something short that says we don't do these things, that makes a difference. It helps you keep from wandering off the path. All right. Then there's a strategy. You get 3 anchor strategies. I'm really stuck on the number 3 because there are whole binders full of strategies, and literally studies show that somewhere between 67 and 93% of them never get executed. So let's not do that. Let's keep it short and sweet. Then the 3 most important key performance indicators. Now, you don't have to have 3. Ideally, you have 1. You can't have more than 3 because then you're measuring too many things. Now, these are the most important things. You can have more KPIs, but most of those other KPIs probably should support one of these 3 KPIs. You have to know what's important for the organization. Then there's what's important right now. This is the one thing you're focusing on for the next 3 to 12 months, something like that. And lastly is who's going to do what and how you're going to accomplish it. Now, these things should all be short enough so that you can turn it into this. This is a 1 sheet of paper that contains all those things. Now, this one's an old one, but I call it a focus plan, so you can hand it to an employee or someone else in the organization, and it lists all of those things on the front and back of an 8 by 10 sheet of paper. Doing that allows it to be actually useful. Okay? It's very important that we make these things concise enough that they don't become binders up on a shelf that never get opened. But the key performance indicators that you see here should be coming from these key performance indicators here. And what are you going to do and how are you going to do it are usually either projects themselves or milestones within a larger project. So you see, you're actually executing. When you get down to setting up a project and you've got it well set up, you've got important milestones, and I'll show you how to do this all later. You usually work them backwards, and then the tasks that make up each milestone, your chances of success go up dramatically because you have created focus, and that's what Focus Master is all about. But now, if you've been paying attention, what you're thinking is, wow, that's a lot. To get those things that clear and that figured out is going to take some time. You're right. Execution requires clarity. Clarity requires time. So that brings us to the organizational day master, which is awful like your individual day master. So we're talking about arena and day master. And we're going to teach you how to run a couple of different kinds of meetings, but they're primarily they're all built upon the same structure. So this is the way the day master window opens up, and it shows the tasks for the organization and teammate recognitions and teammate suggestions and things like that. But the key is you could run a certain type of meeting using this window, but really we're going to set up meetings to be done in a specific way. Now, this is a short list of meetings for this organization, and I'm going to show you one of them. And when we get done with that one, then you'll be able to see how this all comes together, I hope. So we're going to go to this PIC Morning Day Master. And if we go to that, it's going to open up in a sub window, and the first thing you'll see are these meeting triggers. Now, a meeting trigger is a series of questions, but let's talk about why you do this. You see, we'll close this for now. So meetings, most of our meetings are actually repetitive, like we have them once a week or once a month or whatever it may be. So we need to clearly define, and when we set up a meeting, it should have a clearly defined purpose. So we do that. All right. And then Once that meeting is defined, we can figure out what initiatives and things like that it supports. But if it has a set purpose, there are certain things that should be covered every single time. And if we have a checklist, we can go through them very quickly. Now, we're not looking to solve every one of these problems. We're just looking to see if any of them need to be handled at this meeting. That's what these questions are. They're triggers. So this is a rather long meeting, but these things trigger the rest of the agenda. And if you don't have a list, then you're going to either not cover everything that needs to be covered, or you're going to spend way too much time, and this is the common thing, you're going to spend way too much time talking about something that didn't need talked about. So this, we're not going to go into detail, but they're mostly either yes, no, or red, yellow, green answers. And you can record numbers and you can take notes and things like that. But the ideal thing is when it's, let's say we answer this question yes, and I haven't even looked at what the question is. That should usually trigger an action, okay? When the screen refreshes, that'll turn red. We can take a note, record a number, but it should, if we click here on that add a task, we're going to create a task that will be linked to that question. It'll be linked to the right initiative. It'll be linked to a whole lot of things. Now again, remember these, when you're recording the video, it makes things go slower, so it won't normally take anywhere near this long. But just so you have an idea how this is going to work, I'm going to link this to a particular KPI, and if it had been, if the question in the Socratic questions have been linked to a KPI, this would have been automatic. I'm going to make it committed that it has to get done this week. That will make it easier to find. We're going to call it a test question 9. It's something that needs to be done. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to make it due yesterday so that we can see how that works. I'm going to keep myself the captain so we can see it later. I could have help from any number of teammates, and I could put in some notes in here. Okay. Now we're going to save this question. And when we save it, and yes, then it's going to redraw the screen, which is good. We want it to redraw the screen. So what is going to happen, if we look down here, that question, well, let's reload this frame. Okay, but sorry about the wait, but it's worth it. Okay, so when it redraws this screen, what you're going to see is that there's the question I just added, and my name and due date are now in red because it's late, and it links to the initiative and things like that. So every time, if this meeting's not done, because at some point in the meeting, for example, let's say this triggers something that we need to discuss and decide on, those items become, here's your agenda for the meeting. It's not just a list of stuff to talk about. These are actions that need to be completed, hopefully at this meeting. You could schedule them for a meeting to another week real easy. That could be done, but this is how this is handled. All right. So now you have your agenda items, and that's what makes the meeting so much more effective. We don't just sit around and talk about things. People love to talk about things at meetings. They don't like to decide, and they don't like to take action. We're not going to forget things because we have a checklist. So people who otherwise would stop in your office and interrupt you so that your momentum gets stopped can say, can wait and come to this meeting and have it covered when the action will actually be able to take place. And you can schedule a job that needs to be done out in the future. And then when you have the meeting next time, it'll be, well, hey, did you get that done next week? It'll be there. It's an action-oriented thing, and I'm not going to totally explain it now, but this will save you. Setting up meetings and doing them in this manner will save you 4 to 9 hours per week easily. And you'll get so much more done during that time. So now the question is, okay, so we created this just to show you how interconnected everything is here. We're going to go back to my day master window. Now, again, this may take a little bit of time to redraw, but what you're going to see is that task is now on my individual task list. And it's going to show up as late, just like it should. Let the video catch up. There it is, right up on top, late, in red, on my list. It's on my cell phone too. And I can find it, and it'll show up looking just like that. And it is on the company list. Let's just redraw. If we go to, this is the company's list. Refresh this page because we're at a new meeting and we're taking a look at this company list again. And again, it's worth the time. That task is going to show up here. And it's late, and the whole world of people who are at this meeting are going to say, hey, Dan, you're late on that. Well, and if I'm not very good at it, they're going to say, you're late again. And I'm going to get it done. There it is. So this is, I hope you can see what we're trying. We execute, we clarify, and we get you the time to actually get this done. That is what an organization success system is. It doesn't deal with you may have other systems to handle I'm not trying to do your finances here. We're not trying to manage your bank accounts or anything like this. This is the people process that gets things done. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.